together. IPSA. We're not just a name in a directory. Local minds with national synergy.
Welcome, bienvenue. Welcome once again to a property podcast. It's just, my goodness, it's the second of the week. Yesterday's Property Mass. I hope you caught that. That was great. And today is, of course, IPSA Kind of Magic with my faithful friend Hamish McClay of Search Convey, and today's special guest Sharon Whitney of Insight Property Searchers. Now, we talk on IPSA about all topics that could affect the working welfare of IPSA members, that's the Association of Independent Personal Search Agents, of which Sharon is a newly anointed member, relatively new.
Thank you.
Don't tell anyone, but she's been doing this for tens of years. But anyway, moving on. Today's topic is an interesting one. It is the future of CON29. And I think to start us off, of course, the inimitable Hamish McClay.
Well, good afternoon to you all. In fact, hardly seems moments since we were last speaking in person. So I hope you thoroughly enjoyed Monday. Those of you who were able to attend, and those of you who didn't, missed an absolute treat. It's one of those lovely chilled out evenings in the gardens with Gareth music sort of drifting through the doorway. Magical stuff it was indeed, but some truly great information and some subtle hinting during our meeting, because it was our members' day, of course. So those of you who aren't IPSA members, it was a members' day, then we celebrate those. We just have a members' day once a year, and we have a conference once a year. The members' day, in fact, the two of them are very much the same. However, Monday was particularly interesting because there were some hints about this CON29. Well, I better explain for those of you, anybody who's a member of IPSA knows what CON29 is. So we better explain that. And there's two CON29s. There's a CON29R, which is the regular one, which everybody has to complete, that's actually sort of carrying out a local authority search. It could actually be the local authority themselves, or it could be one of our people that's actually doing it, or a number of other people who do actually sort of do it as well. So that is contained, that's part of the information of a local authority search. To actually complete the whole thing, there is another second part to a local authority search, which actually is to do with land charges. We're not speaking about land charges today, because it was quite interesting. We had some comments about land charges on Monday. If you weren't there, tough. Just being subtle. So the CON29R itself hasn't been modified since 2016, I believe. Is that right, Sharon? Can you remember?
Yes, yeah, that's the last
one. Yeah, it was 2016. Yeah. So it does contain some sort of strange things which really ought to have been amended by now. However, what we've got contained within that CON29R, which makes it very, very important, is data and information to do with properties which are held by the council. And that is also material information that is going to be required as we move forward. And the great thing is, the CON29, we hope it is going to change. We hope it is going to change for the right reasons, put the right questions in, take the rubbish out, put the right questions sort of in there, and we can actually carry on. But what we can use the CON29R for now is to help fill out the forms on material information. So they are themselves very, very important. However, we're going in a different direction. What we want to do is get this information together at the very, very start of the transaction, which gives actually the buyer puts all that detail together. We add in ours and a few other little bits and pieces, and therefore, so the sellers put in the information, we put our information in. So by the time it gets to the buyer, He's got a lot of information there. Our information, the CON29 information, and various other details. So he has got an addition to the CON29. So you can see how the CON29 will continue to be useful itself.
So let me ask you a silly question about it, because obviously I'm an educated fool here, so I'm just trying to pick up knowledge as I go. Does the buyers actually fill in back end of the CON29 when it receives them, or is it filled in partially before it even hits you guys?
Well, no, not at all, not the CON29, because that is the details held by the council, which, as we well know, us associated with independent personal search agents, because of our relationship with the councils, we are gathering that information from the councils. So no, the information is not there initially, but what we do, we contribute to the material information. That's what makes it very, very important. And with software the way it is these days, it can actually take the information, put it into that master report, because the seller there can be complicated things to do, but everything's being simplified. Actually, there's a couple of people there explaining it on Monday, but more detail will be revealed at our conference in January about all of that. But in the meantime,
well, welcome to the show, Sharon.
Thank you.
So the quality of the information that gets put on the CON29 is absolutely critical, and I guess you leverage your relationship with councils and whoever else is required on that path to make sure that we get the best refined information rather than just all of it.
Yes, yeah, and I think what you're saying again, we're, as with the LLC one, we're back to this refined information. I'll just quickly start to say thanks for organising a great day on Monday, full of lots of new information, sharing of ideas amongst our personal search agents and where we fit in, and so brilliant day. So if you're an IPSA member, you should really come along. But yeah, back to the CON29R. So again, we're going to come back to this local knowledge, local expertise, refinement of information to make sure it's right. What is going on in your local area that you have that specialist knowledge to do, to include in the report. So, we talk about things like building control. Again, we get some information from the council, then we go off and we get more information for, competent person schemes. We check all that. We don't charge extra because that's included in our expert reports. We will add that in. I'm just thinking of issues like planning. A lot of the reports, is planning within the boundary of the plan, but what is going on? What could happen? Is there a new development coming up? You might know something that's had planning permission being refused. I can include that in my local village, and the road you're living on, that could be the new access point for that new development. Now, as an owner, I think you'd want to know that, wouldn't you? You'd really want to know that. So, you don't want to buy the house and go, suddenly your neighbour says, oh, did you hear about the 49 houses that are being built? Also, things like just transport schemes that are going on, new towns, new developments. So we know that, and we'll include that because it's important to know. And whether it's up front or within, when we get the order from the conveyancer to carry out that search, we might add that extra bit of information. But we're trying to think ahead as well for the conveyancer, like what might they need? And you would go back and say, you should get a planning report on this. So that's my take on the CON29R, that the more information, the more knowledge you have, the more you add in, whether it's in line with the answers to the questions or if it's in additional information, which I think is really important.
But am I right in saying it's not everything? It's down to you as an experienced search agent to make sure that the information is relevant. You can put tons of stuff in there, but most of it doesn't really apply to you. If there's a tree order on a tree that's like umpteen whatever away from where the house is in the first case, it's not necessarily relevant.
definitely not necessary. But what if it's at the back of your garden and that tree overhangs your, within your garden? You think, oh, I don't like that, I'm going to chop it down. And it's like, no, you can't do that. So yeah, it's just little things like that that will make a difference to the buyer for upfront information, which we're going to be talking about so much now. And here's where we step in. Here's where we can help. Here is where you will get more information from an IPSA member. There's data, there's so much you can sweep, all the data from the CPS schemes, gas safe, things like that, but make sure that it relates to the property. Make sure, it's checked. So checked, refined. So yeah.
Hamish, is this the call of the return of hips?
Oh, good grief. I'll tell you what was quite funny. Somebody mentioned the word hips at Members' Day and everybody sort of fell over just about. No bleeding hips again. No, nothing of the sort.
When everybody says hips to me, I just think of Shakira. Anyway, moving on. Sorry about that. Yes, but levity aside, information appears to be ever more important. Relevant information appears to be ever more important, and IPSA members are prime placed to get that right information because they can leverage that close personal relationship they've built often over years.
Absolutely. One of the great advantages as well, many of the members of our association have actually been members since before those home information packs were introduced. And they, if you like, it was a big mistake. It was the Labour government, and unfortunately it wasn't controlled as effectively as it should have been. And it was actually, it messed the whole situation up. Right. Because whereas previously you'd had it wasn't exactly a limited number, but there was a smaller number of people who carried out local authority searches. IPSA members were doing all prior to that particular sort of time. But what it did, it attracted an awful lot of people in, which I think we tended to call them sort of cowboys, who turned up to make the money. That's all they turned up for, to make the money. How can we make money out of this? So they monetized the home information pack.
I think the correct and possibly more PC term is opportunists.
Oh right, okay. We've got. Thank you, Gareth, for the correction there. But however, would they be cowboys or opportunists? They were still taking advantage of the system to make money out of it, rather than help the situation, because there were a lot of people that came into it. They knew very little about what a local authority search was.
But
so
it's about pride in the process and pride in the result you're trying to achieve for your clients. I think that's possibly where that whole opportunist side falls down.
But unfortunately, see, what it was at the same time, we brought the ambulance chasers had actually got. It means quite complicated, actually. The whole story. I could rabbit on for about an hour or so about it, but what had actually sort of happened to the conveyancing industry, certain people, like the ambulance chasers, which we all remember, they entered into the conveyancing sector because they'd been quite successful, made loads of money. But they jumped in because they thought, oh, this is good. We can do it. So they knew nothing about searches. They were employing people who knew nothing about searches, and they were sending this information out. Now, that wasn't good for solicitors, because it made things difficult for the solicitors. And of course, what then happened as well, we brought in licensed conveyancers who weren't actually properly lawyers. So we get a combination of all of these people who did not understand what searches were about. And at the same time, because the onus was actually sort of on the estate agents, they're unregulated. They do, well, they're largely unregulated. They were doing sort of strange things, because they'd monetized the home information packs as well. So they would make, oh, this is great. We can make some money. We'll buy it in for sort of 150 notes and flog it for 350. I mean, things like that were actually sort of going on. So it caused quite a bit of sort of mayhem, but it did take away the professionalism within the industry, because subsequent to that time, we brought in so many factory conveyancing methods that particular methodology has become far too common if somebody wants the accurate information.
Sharon, it's you've seen it change in the short time that you've been involved in IPSA.
Short time.
I'm being pleasant and sweet.
Yeah. Oh,
I've been here. I was here for hips.
Some people might say that's a stretch for me, but anyway, moving on. The point is that you've seen it move ever closer towards an information-based system. Are we getting close to the point where we'll be able to type in a query into the computer and everything that we need comes out in one go?
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be lots of introductions of all these data systems that will help estate agents, that will give them that information straight away. But again, my view would be to go with somebody that, yeah, we can give you here's a quick overview, but if you want to get it checked. And I think what came across from all our discussions on Monday, go back to the person who is selling, the person that we focusing on, that they get the exact picture of the property they're buying. What we're trying to stop is fall throughs of information coming to light too late in the transaction, so they think, I don't want this house. That's no good for estate agents. That's no good for conveyancers who've all spent a lot of time gathering this information. People pay money for surveys, for instructing their solicitors, and all of a sudden it's lost money. So we've got to go back to scratch really and start making the information is relevant and everything you need to know about. Yeah, just get everything correct. And yeah, you might have a load of data, yeah, but make sure it's relevant.
Thank you very much for that. Hamish, would you care to please take us home?
Indeed. I think you mentioned the word earlier, and I think it came into Sharon's conversation as well. One of the aspects, it's refining the data. It's so very easy to get an awful lot of information these days. I mean, not just to do with housing, you can get all sorts of stuff, can't you? You press through Google, you go on to ChatGPT. The great thing about ChatGPT is so creative, because if it doesn't have a proper answer, it'll make one up for you. It's better than it was, but it still will put those things in. And I mean, I must admit, whenever I use ChatGPT, I said, can you validate that, please? And it will actually sort of tell me where the information has come from. And this is a distinction. This is a sort of difference, because we want the profession, because it is a profession, conveyancing, and sadly it has been belittled by an awful lot of situations which are going on, and we've got an opportunity here to really make it that much more professional. And as Sharon sort of said, the great thing is get the detail in there that the buyer's going to need ultimately. It makes it so much better for the seller, because they can sell with confidence then, because nobody's going to come back and sort of query something if they've got the information there. We've got the local authority information from the CON29R, which is added to it. Environmental information is also added in there. Drainage and water info, all this information. But the beauty of so much of it does actually need refining, because we haven't spoken about land charges today, but all of these things meet up with the CON29. So it is a part of a very important aspect of what actually sort of goes on in the sort of buying and selling process. And you work with the right people. I mean, this is what we're trying to do, is to create a situation where professional people work together with a professional solution.
It's interesting, we've returned to that old drum that we used to bang only 2 years ago, and I think we'll probably bang it ad nauseam, which is surround yourself with the right people, you're more likely to get the right result. I mean, I think that could be put over my headstone, certainly. Anyway, until next week, please keep your feet on the ground, keep reaching for the stars, and please stay hydrated until next week. Goodbye.
Local skill with national connection. Independent, but never alone. IPSA, where your professional home.